WizKids has a game that I just came across, and now I want to tell you about it. Dungeons & Dragons, Builders of Baldur's Gate. This game is for 2 to 5 players, ages 15 and up, and should take you about 90 minutes to play. In Dungeons & Dragons, Builders of Baldur's Gate, a city-building game from acclaimed designer Matthew Dustin, you are the head of a powerful family in the iconic city of Baldur's Gate. You grow your prestige by building new businesses within 9 districts, both as one large network and across all the districts. You must also extend your influence with the 3 main factions of the city, the Council of 4, the Flaming Fist, and, of course, the Thieves Guild. When you place buildings, you place an influence cube on them to indicate your control. This also applies to special keeps, gates, and watchtowers, which are represented by miniatures with slots for all of your influence cubes, allowing you to see the city grow in a full 3-dimensional view. Keep in mind that Baldur's Gate is not only a city of industry in the Forgotten Realms, but a city of mortal danger. Mobs of monsters regularly attack the outer wall, or from the harbor, forcing temporary alliances to fend off the incursion. Each family tries to take advantage of these crises, using them as stepping stones to advance their own personal agendas. Well, that's a nice write-up from the publisher, and it really got me interested. I mean, first of all, it's a Dungeons & Dragons board game, so right there, that is the first star I have to give this game, is simply that it's a Dungeons & Dragons board game. So I think, my opinion, from what I've seen so far in this preview of the game, seeing what's online about it, is it seems to be joining a tradition of other notable non-D&D board games. What I mean is games such as Lords of Waterdeep and Three Dragon Ante, games that take place in the Dungeons & Dragons universe, but are not your traditional Dungeons & Dragons story or adventure. This isn't about, dungeon delving and dragon slaying and treasure hoarding. Well, a little bit about treasure hoarding, but you understand what I mean. This is it takes place in Dungeons & Dragons, and it's about Dungeons & Dragons, but it's not really Dungeons & Dragons, but it is. The prospect of taking on the role of an entire family in the game is something else that interests me. You're trying to get this family more and more prestige, making them more powerful, and in that power, giving them more control over the city. I like that. It falls into the category of one of those games where you're not necessarily playing the good guys. And there's been a small increase in that style of board game, and I really dig that. I want to see more of that in games. So that's why another thing that stands out to me about this, it not only are you playing the roles of these influential families, right, of Baldur's Gate, but you're using them in a way to interact with the city itself. The whole act of building and controlling the city all at once, building businesses, putting up landmarks in 3D miniature forms, while building your own power base. I like the way this runs. This sounds really fun to me. And besides all of the time you got to spend building up your businesses, right? Making your connections, your influences, trying to, work on your standing. You're standing with the existing factions like the Council of 4, the Flaming Fist, and of course, Thieves Guild is always in a big city, right? You're using all these connections, and you're also using in game, out of game, you're using these 3D pieces. Now that's another thing that I tend to be a sucker for with board games, is if they have 3D components for the board itself. That's another thing that always gets a little star from me. I have to admit, I'm a sucker for 3D components in a board game. But this also brings together something that I think really shines in a lot of games when it's done correctly, and that is this balance of competitive versus cooperative. Because there is only one winner in the game. Only one family will win. You are in a competitive race with the other players running the other families. But with the adding on of the random monster attacks at the city gates, at the harbor, wherever else, I think that this brings in that really great aspect of cooperative. Because from what I see from the other things written about it online, the videos, No one player, no one family is necessarily really going to be able to fend off one of these attacks. It is literally something that's going to call together multiple players. And so you have this temporary truce, this cooperative moment of clarity, so to speak, in this sea of madness of competitiveness. I am really, really looking forward to trying that. I like it when games mix the competitive and the cooperative natures together. And like I said, if it's done correctly, like apparently a lot of early reviewers say this is, it's really going to shine in the game. So lastly, I just want to point out that I've also been reading about this, seeing about this, a lot of talk about high replayability. That this game is, because of the nature of it, because of the nature that it's set up with the various strategies that you can use, different strategies in every single game that you play, with the building of your businesses, and that can be different every time you play. How you make your connections to the factions will, you got it, be different every time you play. That's all coming together and bringing this high level of replayability to the game. And any fun game, any game you enjoy, you want high levels of replayability for. And because this is going to keep that game hitting the table in a fresh manner every single time. And if you like a game, that's one of the things you're really looking forward to in it. You want to find that in the next big game that you spend money on. You don't want to spend money on a game that you're only going to play once or twice. That feels kind of like a ripoff. Probably could have found it at a board game cafe and played it for free. But when you really like a game, you want that high level of replayability. So I'm looking forward to this. I really want to, I would love to, get a chance to get this, not only for my personal collection, but as something to showcase. I think this would be an excellent game for any gaming channel to go out of their way. Well, no, not go out of their way. To take the pleasure in giving a showcase of reviews and videos for this game. Yeah, so if you're looking for a Dungeons & Dragons game that's not about dungeon delving, if you're looking for something that gives you a feel of Lords of Waterdeep more than Tomb of Horrors, I think you're going to want to go get yourself some more information about Dungeons & Dragons, Builders of Baldur's Gate.